is roughly 3 in the morning. Yep, just gone 1 minute past 3. Can probably see how tired I am, but done all this work, so I thought, you know what, it's only going to get later and I've got college in the morning, so can't do it in the morning. However, I've written a fairly long script, I'll admit, and I'll try not to deviate from it too much, but so this is an issue that I've given a lot of thought, probably more than's healthy, over the past few months. After much thought and mental exertion, I'll be honest, I've decided this is something I can't stay silent on any longer, as silence and impartiality only sides with the oppressor. This is something that you may have forgotten about, though if you're transgender like myself, you probably have not forgotten about it. I've spoken a little on this, but not in a person-to-person video. I say person-to-person. Imagine you're seeing this right now. You are in the same room as me right now. Just imagination. But I've decided, as I mentioned earlier, to write a script for myself in this video, as it is a subject that would probably get very emotional on if I had not written a script for myself, because it's a topic that personally affects me deeply as a transgender man. Now then, the topic is JK Rowling. Let that sink in. I am sure that if you follow me, you will be familiar with what has been going on a little while ago, and this video is being made after I saw yet another article about JK Rowling feeling the need to open her mouth on the transgender debate. Yes, the transgender debate. How enlightening that a cisgender woman feels the need to speak about our rights and whether we should have them. It seems that's my understanding of what the transgender debate has been. Hey, let's debate whether I or many other transgender people, for one, exist. Well, I obviously exist, so that's one point dealt with. And whether I and many other transgender people deserve human rights. Now, I'm sure we know where we stand on this, but the question is, where does JK Rowling stand on this? Because she's mentioned in her latest spew of whatever the heck this is, that she loves transgender people and resents being called transphobic. However, the turn of events which have led to this assumption of JK Rowling's transphobia have been long and unprecedented, if that's the correct word to use. I'm tired, it's 3 in the morning. Now then, I'm trying to remain civil as not to add fuel to the fire, as they say. I already talked about the transgender debate, so I'll skip that bit. Now then, I'll give a brief history lesson on JK Rowling's misguided remarks, shall we say, for I don't know why, but yes. So all of this controversy started when JK Rowling apparently accidentally liked the tweet of someone known to be transphobic, I believe. She claims that she meant to screenshot it to refer back to for later research. Okay then. This anti-trans rhetoric of Rowling's, though indirectly expressed at first, truly became evident when JK Rowling mocked an advert on Twitter which was advocating against period poverty. She mocked an advert advocating against period poverty. I want you to understand that first of all. However, the point she mocked about it was the advert referring to people experiencing period poverty, as those who menstruate, which I commend. Rowling then mocked this advert, heavily implying that only women menstruate. Got news for you, reproductive system. We don't menstruate no more. No. Of course, transgender men and non-binary people, AFAB people, that's the word. Most of us, in fact, maybe all of us menstruate, but according to Rowling, no. You can see where I'm going with this. So after that occurrence, JK Rowling then came out in support of Mayor Forstater, who was attempting to refuse her former employment's decision not to renew her contract in court. Let's begin with what JK Rowling presented on Mayor. She said that Mayor Forstater was being fired due to holding the belief that biological sex is real. Already we can see that Rowling has falsified this information, as we know Miss Forstater was not fired, but simply was not reinstated when her contract ran out, or was not terminated, it ended. Her contract of employment had ended and the company decided not to reinstate her. And the reason behind this was that she refused to use a trans woman's correct pronouns in the workplace. A colleague of hers and was creating, according to the workplace, a hostile environment at work. That I can believe. Forstater took it to court, arguing that her disbelief in gender identity, so just to put that into perspective, she's saying that gender identity doesn't exist. She should have the right under law to disregard it. She argued that this should be protected by law, and the judge ruled against Forstater, which is not surprising, obviously. The next occurrence of JK Rowling supporting someone who was openly, horrifically, vehemently transphobic was the case of Magdalene Burns. Now, I just want to take the time to say that Magdalene Burns has passed away from a brain tumour, so I am going to attempt to be respectful. Despite the views that she may have held, she was a human being, and I do want to remind people of that. Right, Magdalene Burns. Rowling said that Burns was a brave feminist dying from an aggressive brain tumour who didn't think that lesbians should be called bigots for not wanting to date trans women with penises. This is what JK Rowling said about Magdalene Burns. This again is misleading, very misleading. If you checked the Twitter feed of Magdalene Burns when she was alive, tweeted publicly and openly calling mainly transgender women, though also transgender people in general if you think about it, sick effing perverts, blackface actors, and deliberately misgendered transgender people such as Blair White. Now, I don't really like Blair White, but she is a woman and we need to respect that, as I'm sure you will agree. And after all of that controversy, JK Rowling then decided to double down on her transphobic views that she denies with her essay. Now then, Rowling in this essay, there's a lot of stuff to cover here, but in this essay she states that there have been a surge of young women transitioning. I'm guessing she meant AFAB people, particularly autistic AFAB people. Now, that's not true. Also stated that a former psychiatrist from Tavistock resigned due to not agreeing with the methods. There's a bit more behind that, but I don't have all the time in the world. And she also claimed that 60 to 90% of gender dysphoric people grow out of these feelings. Now, Rowling gave no citations to any research, to back up what I'm sorry, but it's nonsense. Now, I tried to read the entire essay that Rowling wrote, but I only managed to get about 3/4 of the way through before honestly wanting to cry, just from sheer overwhelming feelings of what this was doing to the trans community and to me personally as a trans person. One of the biggest fears or talking points of not transgender activists, that's us, people against us, people who don't like trans people, transphobes. So it's 3 a.m. Cut me some slack. But anyway, the main talking point of gender critical people is, most people regret transitioning, or we're going to infiltrate women's only spaces, or Tavistock Clinic and other gender identity services go through the process too fast and people are pushed into transitioning. Now, I don't know what people she's met, but I am, as I've said many times in this video alone, I'm transgender. I came out in August 2016, that is just over 4 years ago now, and I still haven't been given hormone blockers. My first appointment with Tavistock Clinic in Leeds was in November 2016, and I have been seen by 2 psychologists or psychiatrists, I'm not sure what the correct term is, one of which specialised in gender identity studies and such. And I've been seen once a month, then once every 3 months, then approximately once every 6 months for 4 years, going into 5 eventually. And I have been asked very in-depth questions about my sexuality, about my past, like my childhood, about growing up, about trauma, school life. They basically asked everything you could possibly think of. And I got the diagnosis for gender dysphoria. I got that about a year ago after I'd legally changed my name. But I still have not been approved to start hormone blockers. I was approved by the psychologists and such, but the process of actually getting me onto hormone blockers was a bit difficult, as all the tests needed to be done. Yes, they do tests. They do blood tests, they weigh you, they evaluate your bone density, just to make sure that hormone blockers will not negatively affect you. They do all this. And if I was not suitable for hormone blockers yet, I'd have to take vitamin D tablets, which is what happened because my bone density was not deemed strong enough. However, then COVID happened and everything got put on hold. And that's not the fault of Tavistock or anyone, that's just COVID happened, COVID sucks, and this is where we are now. But the point I was making before I went off on a little tangent is I've been out for 4 years pursuing medical transition for at least 3 of them, if not all 4, and I've got nowhere physically in my transition. Now, the thing that JK Rowling failed to do in her essay, as I mentioned before, is citations. I have a whole page of citations here on statistics of transgender related statistics. Again, it's 3 in the morning. Now, in a study done in 2019 by Davies, McIntyre and Ramper, I will give a photo of this because I can't read apparently, found the detransition rate to be 0.47%. And a previous study in 2014 done by Smith and et al. Found a 0.6% detransition rate. And that was an earlier study. The one in 2019 found a 0.47 detransition rate. And of those people, it was found the majority of those did not regret transitioning, but regretted the backlash that they received from transitioning. So the regret rate from transitioning is probably even lower than that. I just want to put that out there. Other studies done by Newfield in 2006, Samuel Davis and Meller in 2014, Goran Lazard in 2013, and Gomez-Gill et al. In 2012. All those studies found evidence towards the theory that transitioning does improve transgender people's lives and help save lives. Though, if you talk to transgender people, like myself, I'm sure you would find that out anyway. Moving on. Oh, I already mentioned this, but the source for the detransition rate being mostly due to hostility towards trans people was backed up by Landon, Wallander, Hambert and Lundstrom's study done in 1998. Now, I know that is a little dated, so you may want to take that with a pinch of salt, up to you. More statistics. According to a paper I read done as a collaboration between the Royal College of Nursing and the Public Health of England, Association thing, published in March 2015, found the following. 34.4% of transgender adults in the UK have attempted suicide at least once in their lives due to discrimination, stigma, transphobia and bullying. 73% of transgender people have reported harassment. 10% of transgender people have reported experiencing threatening behaviour in a public place. In schools, 64% of young trans men and 44% of young trans women have experienced harassment or bullying at school. And I know that's a normal thing, apparently, for young people to experience, but the majority of transgender people have experienced this because they are transgender. And 25% of trans individuals have experienced physical abuse at school. 63% of transgender people have reported receiving negative or unfair treatment when trying to access mental health services. 65% reported this when trying to access general health services, and 62% when trying to access exclusive gender identity services. So when seeking help for specifically gender identity related things, 62% of people found they received a negative treatment, negative reaction, if you will. And I've already talked a little about my experiences at Tavistock, but I just want to put these statistics into perspective, if you will. I'm, again, a transgender person. I've experienced verbal abuse, physical abuse, because I am transgender. At school, not too much in public places, but a lot at school in the past. I don't want to go into detail, but I was not considered for the role of head boy at my school. I was not allowed to use the male changing rooms or male toilets at school, despite me telling them that this was against the Equality Act of 2010. They didn't care, they made me use the disabled ones. And I tried to book an appointment with the head teacher to discuss this, but he basically snaked his way out of it. I also found it difficult to access, as I mentioned before, hormone treatment. Before being put through for the test, I was with a doctor, obviously, but the GP surgery I was at then, I think the year was about 2019, 2018, said they did not have enough information on transgender issues to administer the hormone blockers. So I had to switch doctors. So even people supposedly meant to be trained to give me this treatment were not. I had to find someone else. There are only 2 Tavistock clinics in England for people under 18, so you can probably imagine how difficult it is for young transgender people to even get an appointment. I waited 2-3 months. It was a long time. It felt like a long time. Though the average waiting list, I was lucky, the average waiting list is over a year. From 8 months to over a year. Just to put that in perspective, but people who are gender critical think we are rushing through it too fast. As if I walked into Tavistock, said, I'm trans, and they said, okay, and gave me a hysterectomy or some crap. That's not what happened. And if you're trans, I know you'll know that's not what happens. I'm making this video mostly because I'm trans and this is annoying me. This is what the majority of my page is, but also with the uprising of transphobia in the media, thanks to people like JK Rowling, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. She's giving those people a voice. But also the High Court ruling in the UK on people now under 16 will not be able to access hormone blockers. It is very unlikely. Already in the UK, we had laws stating that people under 16 could not access cross-sex hormones, so like estrogen or testosterone. And people under 18 cannot have any form of surgery. Whether it's top surgery, bottom surgery, it's not allowed. You can't have it till you're 18. And even then, there is a long, extensive physical reviewing process done to make sure that people will not suffer, or to try and eliminate the risks of people suffering from having the surgeries. I can't speak personally about my experiences with that because I have not gone through the physical transition yet. I'm hoping to one day, but I haven't yet. However, I'm sure if you look around, there will be plenty of transgender people who have been through the surgeries, and if they are willing to discuss it, I encourage you to seek out this information for yourself. Don't just take my word for it. Don't just take, dozens of transgender people's word for it, but people who probably are transgender also, but have lived through it, Also, I want to thank Jamie Dodger and his fiancée Shaba for the video they made in response to JK Rowling's essay, as that is where I found references to most of my statistics, except for the Royal College of Nursing and Public Health England, as I sought that source out myself. Their video is very helpful and comprehensive. If you want to have a look at that, I'd recommend it. But yeah, I just wanted to make this video, just put it out there that I'm not impartial on this issue, though I'm sure you already know that. And I do feel very strongly about the transphobia that JK Rowling is allowing to be publicly expressed. And that's about everything for this video. I'm sorry this was a very long video. But if you made it to the end, thanks for watching, and